Los Angeles, introducing the newest, most trusted injury hotline.
Accident or injury, call Jacob and Ronnie. Call Jacob, 1-800-345-6789. Call Jacob.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Mason Plus. This is my brand new show. No Ireland, it's just me, plus. And it's on the YouTube channel for ESPN LA. It's also Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Episode number 1, the premiere, Joe Davis is going to be my guest. Coming up, voice of the Dodgers and voice of the World Series as we get ready for baseball season. And I kind of want to start with Shohei Ohtani. I think it's appropriate. So Shohei Ohtani used a method called the Harada method to plan his career, from high school player all the way to Major League Baseball MVP. And I did a little research on this. This is from Harvard Gazette. Takashi Harada is the person who created it. And Milos, why don't you go ahead and put up his Harada chart. Turned around and underperforming high school teams at a pretty massive scale using this method. You come up with a multi-year ambition, so really dare to dream, and then the first step of the chart is to build sort of a grid. So as we look at Shohei's full grid, you'll notice that in addition to sharpness and physical conditioning and 100-mile-an-hour fastball and trickery and mental strength, he's got 2 squares that are really interesting, I think. One is character. So around character on this grid, he's got sensitivity, worthy to be loved, planning ahead, gratitude, sustained efforts, worthy to be trusted, well-mannered, and caring. Now, those are not really, I didn't expect them to be on the chart. You wouldn't, right? But this was part of his goal. Worthy to be loved is really interesting. Also on the chart, karma. He's big on karma, which I think is just, it makes so much sense. I'm also big on karma. He says, greetings. He greets everybody very nicely. Umpires, opposing catchers. Picks up trash. Yeah, there's good karma in picking up trash. Cleaning his room. As a little kid, think about this. Cleaning his room was on his list of goals. Respect toward umpires. Yes, he always acknowledges the umpire. Use the tools with care. I assume that means glove and bat and all that stuff. Positive thinking, of course. And I think this is my favorite one. Be a person that people root for. How cool is that? Be a person that people root for. And he has reached really every goal on this chart. All the way down to being a person that people root for. You don't hear people talking negative about Shohei Ohtani. He's gracious. He's caring. He is polite, unbelievably polite. All those qualities, he's got an easy smile, all that stuff makes Shohei Ohtani who he is. And so this Harada chart is fascinating to me. And by the way, the middle get drafted first overall by 8 teams is what he says. Get drafted first overall. I'm not sure what he means by 8 teams, but 8 teams. So I actually have my own Harada chart that I'm going to put up. And this is specifically for this show, for the Mason Plus show. So Milos, go ahead and put this up. Milos, by the way, is our producer. I guess my producer, yeah. Here is the chart. So my multi-year ambition is to win the Golden Globe Award for Best Podcast. That is the multi-year ambition. You know, I'm in this for the awards. Like, I keep my awards right here. This is my Bob Miller Award for Best Sports Talk Show Host. So I'm big on the awards. So that is the center of my chart. Now, surrounding it, my grid, you'll see that I have got watch lots of sports. I watch all the games. I'll be ready for the show every single week. I've got watch a lot of entertainment. I see unbelievable numbers of movies and television and all that stuff. I consume a lot of pop culture. Books. I even read books. So watch a lot of entertainment is there. Don't be afraid to steal bits. Now, I've been doing this for years. You can, there's no such thing as a bit that cannot be stolen. We always joke about the Kamenetsky brothers and the blame pie, which they did steal from John and I, although they claim it as their own. Any good bit is worthy of being stolen. What else is, oh yeah, gummies. Hey, I gummy, therefore I am. I generally partake every afternoon right around 4:20, and I think it makes my work better all week long. Vacation. So let me tell you something. I need lots of vacation. And I'm not, it's kind of gives me such a fresh perspective on everything. I'm always better after a vacation. And if you're scoring at home, about every 6 weeks, I've got something, either a long weekend or a full vacation. And you may say, you don't deserve 7 weeks of vacation a year. And to you, I say, yes, I do. I love vacation. And I always tell them, you can pay me less as long as I get my vacation. I'm dead serious about that. Pay me less. If I get my 7 weeks of vacation, I'm good. So vacation. Steal Amy Poehler's guests from the Good Hang podcast. Now, Amy is getting unbelievable guests. And we're going to have great guests on the show. Believe me, we've got great stuff coming for you on the show. It's a mix of pop culture, a mix of entertainment and sports. And we're going to have great guests. In fact, I will tell you right now, Blair Underwood, terrific actor. Well, you know him from LA Law, so many shows over the years, so many shows, so many movies, Broadway, all that stuff. He's got a brand new movie. It's an adaptation of the 1986 hockey movie Youngblood, which starred Rob Lowe. He plays the dad in this, and he's terrific. Those are the kinds of guests. Bobby Moynihan is coming up on the show from SNL. We're going to have unbelievable guests on the show. But Amy Poehler, I'm watching her podcast, and I want to make sure that I get everybody good that she has. So Sam, who is our booking executive, listen to Amy Poehler's podcast. Those are the guests that I want. And the last thing, this little insight. So they invented this new podcast award for the Golden Globes. And it's a little weird. You've got to pay to enter. Now, let me get into the weeds a little bit. So the Golden Globes are owned by a guy named Jay Penske Media. They also own Deadline, which is the online trade, the trades but online, Hollywood Reporter, and Variety. So he's got a lock on all of our entertainment news media out there. In order to win the Golden Globe, you've got to not only pay an entry fee, but you've got to buy ads on Deadline, in Hollywood Reporter, in Variety. That's why in this bottom box, I've got pay Jay Penske thousands of dollars. That's what it takes to win this award. So in the end, may not get it. I don't think I'm willing to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but I do want this to be a great show. And I'm glad you're here for it, the very first episode. Real quick, I want to do one last thing here before we get to Joe Davis. I didn't have a Harada chart like Shohei Ohtani did, but I absolutely was pretty driven and focused from the very beginning I found this old article from the Toledo Blade. Milos, why don't you put this up? It is Thursday, March 16th, 1982. Wow. You can see me. Look at that wet behind the ears, little pipsqueak guy that I was. Mommy Jr. has early start on broadcast career. This is an article from the Toledo Blade. Steve Mashansky, my legal last name, a Maumee high school junior, only 16 years old, already well into a radio broadcasting career that began after he was selected in 1979 as a Toledo Mudhens bat boy. He's been sports director and advertising consultant for the last year at radio station WVOL, also broadcast Toledo Sports World at 5:30 every day on the station. I was a pretty driven kid. I was focused. The one thing I like in this article, too, is it says, the young student, son of Mr. and Mrs. Steve Mashansky, 637 Brayer Lane. They actually give, I guess this was a thing in newspapers, they would give your exact address when they wrote an article about you, which is kind of crazy. The Maumee student says he enjoys his new radio job and would like to move higher in the media world. Toward this end, he has agreed with the station general manager to use a simpler name on the radio, Steve Mason. And the last line of that article, remember that name. Going back a few years, but this is what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be on the radio. And now, of course, I've got my own solo show, which I'm excited about. I've got Mason in Ireland. I mean, everything in that article has essentially turned real. I could not be happier with where I am and how it all turned out. Didn't have a Harada chart, but I definitely had some goals early going. And I met a whole bunch of them. And my last one, to win the Golden Glow for Mason Plus. We'll see. All right. I thought that since we're a couple of weeks before baseball season, a perfect first guest would be Joe Davis, the voice of the Dodgers and the voice of the World Series. Here is that conversation. Joe, thank you so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course, Steve.
So I wanted to say, brand new show. You can see the name of it, Mason Plus, is in lights over here. I always wanted my name in lights. And I wanted nobody other than Joe Davis to be the very first guest on the show.
I am honored, man. And when you told me that it was some pop culture to it, I'm thinking you should have thought that through a little bit, because I'm terrible at pop culture.
Are you really? Because I hear you teach oral Hershiser certain pop culture references.
I guess I'm better at oral at certain phases of it. I've got my specialties, I suppose. I couldn't tell you what those are, but he does help me. He does help expose what little expertise I have, I guess.
Well, we are going to put it to the test as we get through here. My goal is to ask you no questions that you've ever gotten before, because I've watched a bunch of your interviews. I know all the stuff that you've talked about in the past, so I want to do something different. So as a little kid, did you start doing play-by-play very young? Did you want to do it from the very beginning?
Yeah, as early as you start having those thoughts, I want to be this or that when I grow up, I somehow knew that this is what I wanted to do. So I remember listening to Gary Thorne, the old NHL on ESPN, and just something about Gary's voice and how it felt like a big game when you heard him. I was, before I even realized it, really paying as much attention to the announcers as I was the game. And it wasn't like that I was not a huge sports guy. My dad was a football coach. Sports was a huge part of my life. But for whatever reason, I was just pulled to the announcers at a really early age.
So if we went back and listened to your very first play-by-play, first of all, do you possess it? Do you have it digitally? Can you listen to your very first podcast?
The first time that I actually recorded something, it was senior year of high school. And my dad being the football coach, it was a small school, a little program. We had the football program's video recorder, video camera.
Yeah, it's video camera. There you go.
We had that. There was in our house, and I took that, and at a playoff basketball game, because I didn't play basketball, set that video recorder on a table with the cap on. So it was recording video, but was only getting audio because I
got it.
video, and recorded radio play-by-play of the playoff game, and just through a contact of my father's, and knew the athletic director at the other school. He set us up with a little foldable plastic table and sat there. Potterville High School against Lanesburg High School basketball, but I have no idea where that tape is. I don't even know what format it would be in. It was one of like the smaller looking VHS tape type things, but smaller.
Yeah.
I don't know. It had its moment, whatever that kind of tape was, but no, that is gone.
That is gone. That is gone. What if we heard it now, what would it sound like?
I don't know. I mean, I can think back to like the oldest stuff that I do have would be my time in Schaumburg or my time in college at Beloit. Probably somebody trying to just do an impression of the guys that I grew up listening to. So it sounded like I was trying to do a Pat Hughes impression, the Cubs radio guy, Joe Buck impression, doing all the big games when I was a kid. And I think that's as any of us begin in this industry, that's how you do it, right? You copy people that you grew up wanting to be like, and then hopefully over time you take elements of those things and supplement yourself. You let yourself come through. It's not as much an impression as it is you being you, but with some touches that you learn from those guys.
Now, I grew up in Ohio. You grew up in Michigan. I am assuming we have Ernie Harwell in common, right? Did you listen to Ernie Harwell doing Tigers games?
Ernie was gone before I was old enough to appreciate him. Appreciate him as an historian of the business and of the position, but I didn't listen to him closely. And I grew up a diehard Cubs fan, so
okay.
The earlier days would have been Harry Carey on and then Chip Carey, and then Len Casper, and like I said on the radio side, Pat Hughes.
So I wanted to ask you about phrases and terms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some things get really played out. Like, for example, right now, everybody's doing 6'7", 6'7", right? So annoying. A lot of people do this. The heart sign, again, I think played out. The expression, I'm here for it. I think that one's played out. Are there any expressions or words that you've eliminated from your broadcast because they've been kind of played out?
Yeah, many of them. And I still do this, but I used to, when I was in Montgomery doing minor league baseball, I would transcribe my innings, and I would go through with a red pen as if I was a professor grading a paper and find those words that didn't belong and that I was overusing. So
right.
I guess it's a good problem that I can't tell you what those words are because I've rooted them out and I don't use them anymore. And a lot of, but I still do that. I'll go through and find words that I don't even realize that I'm overusing. Probably more than now, where there would be actual phrases within, and it wouldn't be as much cliche phrases,
right?
As be ways of describing things that I would identify and try to get out of there. But I still go through the same way and try to find those things.
You know, a word I think gets overused now is iconic. Everything seems to be iconic, no matter where. And there are things that are actually iconic, like Shohei's 3 home run game where that's iconic. But everything gets described as iconic today. I think it's overused.
Yeah, and if everything's iconic, nothing is iconic.
Yes, exactly.
It's the same thing. Like I have some casual friends. I won't name names because they wouldn't be casual friends anymore. But where it's like things are always great, and it's like, are they? Like, you've been alone with the kids for the last 2 weeks through summer break and haven't had a break. Like, it's okay for it not to be great. How do I know when it really is great? If now spaghetti thrown at you and you haven't had a break from the kids for 2 weeks, it's still great.
Yep.
Right? Like, you overuse a word, it kind of loses its meaning. It loses its power.
So when your brain is working on a baseball game as opposed to a football game, how does that settle in your brain? Is there a different rhythm? Is there a different pace? Do you work differently?
Yeah, I think that it's all different, but it's all the same too. The idea is the same, where it's our job to inform and entertain and have fun and help people get some joy. I think like real fundamentally, the purpose is the same, but the feel of doing it is totally different. I describe doing a football game like you're standing up, leaning forward, and literally I am. Whereas baseball, you kind of recline, sitting back in your chair, shoes off, not literally, but that be of chilling, and you're in somebody's house every night for the summer in a way in baseball. So much different tone, much different, even physically how you're sitting, and the prep for obvious reasons is different too. And I can compare Dodger games and the way I prepare for those versus Major League Baseball games on Saturday for Fox, those have a lot more in common with preparing for an NFL game where you're learning two teams over a week, you're parachuting in for one big event versus the everyday baseball where one day leads into the next. And that doesn't mean it's less preparation. It's just different.
So we do sports and pop culture here. We're doing both. So let's do a little pop culture. Do you still go to movie theaters? What's the last time you went to a movie theater to see a movie?
Yeah. I've been to I would say I've averaged a movie a year for the last probably 8 years.
Wow.
Last movie that we went to was Zootopia 2. And we went to one of those theaters with the recliners and
Sure.
gourmet menus and everything. And I brought a book with me. I have a hard
Brought a book.
I brought a book with me. I have a hard time in theaters staying awake. I've found in my one movie a year over the last 7 years or whatever it is. So yeah, kids were excited to watch that. It was my wife and my 3 kids in the little section of 4 in the middle. And then there's a section of 2 on the outside. I wound up having that to myself. So I had my little reading light just tucked in the corner.
Did you really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. So allegedly we saw Zootopia 2. I couldn't tell you anything about it, though. I can tell you about Game of Thrones, which I was reading at that time.
So Game of Thrones, were you a fan of the show?
Didn't watch the show.
Really?
No. I'm going to be really, like I said, I'm going to be a terrible.
So you read George R.R. Martin, but you never watched the show.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm going to continue reading George R.R. Martin.
Those books seem so long to me.
Oh my God, it's so long. And I got to the end and I wasn't prepared for that. I knew that it was a series, but I get to the end and I'm like, okay, I'm 100 pages out. I can see the finish line and I'm starting to see, wait a minute, this whole thing is a damn setup for the rest of the series. This is a 700-page introduction. And I just felt fleeced, man. So
yeah,
I enjoyed the journey of tackling a long fiction book like that, but I felt kind of like I was baited and switched there, as if George was supposed to personally tell me, now you're going to get to the end of this and feel like you're just getting started. He didn't tell me that. I went and looked, okay, if I enjoyed that, what could I read that I might feel a little more fulfilled at the end of the first book? I tried Dune. So I just finished reading
Dune.
And there's a little more closure there where it's not entirely there's a whole Dune series.
Right.
Old somewhat to continue reading it, but I feel like I'm okay that I had a full story arc and really enjoyed the process of reading that book compared to the Game of Thrones. I was like, what the hell? We're just getting started. I just invested a month reading this and this is the intro.
Tell you what, you're ambitious, man. If I see a book, and I've always got a book on, but if I see it's longer than say 350 pages, I'm not in.
You like that?
I'm it's got to be. It sounds, I'm not an intellectual here, but
I'm the same way.
You're the same?
I really usually am. Game of Thrones is the longest book I've ever read. And like I said, I enjoyed the new challenge of tackling that and the fulfillment of getting through it. But usually I get scared away by books that are too thick.
If I say all-time favorite movie, what's your answer?
When I think comedy, I think Wedding Crashers.
Good one.
Grew up a diehard Notre Dame fan, so Rudy was a special one for me as a kid. Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams is a special one. Gladiator holds a special place in my heart. I was very much a rule follower as a kid, and I remember being over at Dustin Pollock's house in 6th grade. Dustin Pollock had an older brother who had rented Gladiator, and Dustin was like, we're going to watch this. And I was like, well, that's rated R, dude. I got to call my parents. And so I called my parents from Dustin's house and I said, hey, Dustin's big brother wants to put on Gladiator. Do you mind if I watch it? And my parents were so proud that I had called them to ask that. They said yes. So that was the coolest thing ever, that I got to watch Gladiator. And I remember just thinking I was grown up because I had done that. So there's something special about that movie for me too.
What about music? What kind of music you listen to? Who's your favorite band, favorite artist?
I listen to all kinds of stuff, everything from jazz to hip hop to pop to classic rock. Just kind of depends on what I'm doing, what mood I'm in. If I'm in the car with the kids, it's usually something that's more pop music. They know you mentioned the 6-7 thing. I think my kids think that it's really cool that Real Jazz is channel 67.
Oh, wow.
Dave Brubeck, favorite jazz artist.
Yeah.
My mom once said, she said, you should, if you ever have those things where you sometimes get asked, if you were to tell somebody something about yourself they'd be surprised about, what would it be? My mom says the answer for me would be that I like hip hop, rap. So, Michigan guy, Eminem, I think greatest artist of all time.
Wow.
Love Benson Boone right now.
Benson Boone's great. He can do a flip. Have you seen him do a flip?
I've seen on the album cover his abs. So
Yeah.
I that doesn't surprise me. He's got
On the Grammy Awards, he like jumped up on this car and did a flip off the car. It was pretty impressive.
I would like to see him in concert, and I'm not a concert guy at all, but like my 9-year-old, almost 10-year-old daughter is like, oh, that would be cool to go see Benson Boone. And then I look and see, and these concerts start at like 9:00 at night. I'm in bed at 8:30.
Yeah.
I'm not in a concert at 9. So maybe in a few years she can pull me out to do that. But yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna play a game called Pick One. I'm gonna give you two things. You tell me what more resonates, which one you like better and why. Okay. So number one, Field of Dreams or Bull Durham?
Field of Dreams. And just, I don't know, for whatever reason, that was the one that I watched more as a kid and has more visceral meaning to me.
Yeah, for me as well. I think you can like both. Everybody always is like Field of Dreams, all the mystical baseball stuff. But that's exactly what I like about Field of Dreams is all the mystical baseball stuff. So at the end of that movie, Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner says to his dad, do you want to have a catch?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you want to play catch or do you want to have a catch?
Play catch. Have a catch is always weird to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a have a catch guy, probably just because of Field of Dreams.
I wonder how many people would say that like they learned how to say it from the end of that movie.
Yeah, judging from the people I work with, I am way out of the mainstream. Everybody says have a catch is like my thing, and everybody else.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, Steve. It's like people who say milk. I would like a glass of milk.
Milk.
You could say that.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah. It's kind of the same.
Classic rock: Beatles or Rolling Stones?
I can kind of take it or leave it on either.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, I don't have a strong answer.
How about this? Let's see if we can get a little more into your era. U2 or Nirvana?
Nirvana.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the first. We talk about Gladiator making me feel like I was a big kid. I remember it happened. Nirvana, the album with the naked baby, and I remember having that, thinking that I was kind of badass.
Yeah, that is badass.
Yeah.
Okay, Scorsese movies: Goodfellas or The Departed?
The Departed.
Really? I'm more of a Goodfellas. Why The Departed?
I think that maybe, is that an era thing? Like that's just more.
Departed was, Goodfellas was, I think, 90s, and Departed was 2000. Yeah, it's a much more recent movie.
Yeah, I think that's probably the simple answer. I remember going and seeing The Departed in theaters, I think, whereas Goodfellas, I would think that came out when I was a really young kid, even before I could call home and ask for permission.
Right. Okay, Adam Sandler.
Oh, I love him.
Uncut Gems or Happy Gilmore?
Happy Gilmore. That's one of my all-time favorites, too.
Is it?
Yeah. That's probably my most quoted movie.
Yeah? Like what quote do you think so?
Oh, gee, we were at the batting cages the other day, and 364 days till next hockey season, right? Kid steps like, one kid's getting in the cage, and it's time for the other kid to get out, and the coach is like, wait for the next pitch to go by before you step in, and the kid just goes, and the ball missed by like that much, and it was right at the tip of my tongue. I quoted it again the other day. I'm coaching flag football this winter, and one kid threw the ball and drilled the other kid after a play. Like the kid wasn't looking.
Yep.
And then I said I felt like the chick on Happy Gilmore yelling, "Happy, look at!" But like you want to say it, but you just can't get it out cleanly. It's happening too fast.
What is your style of coaching?
Probably similar to my dad with me, because he was my coach in high school. My dad, I threw a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of interceptions with it. And I didn't remember him saying this. I do now, but he reminded me of this. He used to say to me, "Hey, did you mean to throw that interception?" And he said, "Your answer, of course, was always no." And his was, "Then don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And I said, that explains why I'm a pretty well-adjusted adult and why I threw way too many interceptions, Dad. So yes, thank you. And I don't know about the other part of it. So probably similar to that, where I've tried to, it's my first time coaching my 7-year-old, and my I think human like instinct is to try to win all the games, even though it's 7 and 8 year old flag football. But I've really tried to make it, and here he is, as if I.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
He even has a prop in his hand. Show him what.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What's his name?
This is Blake,
Hey, Blake. What's going on,
quarterback
man?
of the Trojans.
6'7". Do you do the 6'7"?
Yeah.
Do it once for me. 6'7".
His 4-year-old brother, who can hardly talk, knows how to do that. It's
Is that right? Yeah. So it's between you and I. I think 6'7's done. We need different numbers,
We
right?
need to combine. Do you have a new numbers for us yet?
21.
Okay, there we go.
21. Okay, that's a good one. I like that one, Blake.
Coaching style, though, Steve, is okay. Blake, your part of this show is over. Yes, you can go ahead and go get ready for dinner. Coaching style, just to wrap up that answer, I've just really tried to make it all about, like, if Blake leaves this with this as a joyful memory for him, that's success. So I've tried to have that thought, kind of that swing thought, to use a golf term, guide my coaching style.
How about The Sopranos or Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad is maybe my favorite show of all time.
It's a great one. It's a great one. I don't remember a show where I've seen a character transform the way. I mean, from mild-mannered school teacher to Heisenberg is just an incredible transformation.
Yeah, I think that's probably my number one show of all time. I say Lost is like the best worst show or the worst best show that I've ever watched. I binged that when I started off in Montgomery doing minor league baseball.
Yep.
So that's not nearly as good a show, but kind of a dirty one to call a good one.
Did you ever watch The Wire?
I watched a few episodes, but never fully got into it.
When you get into it, it's like really good. It's an all-time. What about The Sopranos?
Never watched it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Is that your number one?
No, my number one is Breaking Bad. But Sopranos is number two.
Is it?
A close number two. It's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. And I think, actually, I always find it interesting that we love organized crime shows so much. The Godfather and Goodfellas, we've mentioned a few of them.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are so drawn to the mafia or organized crime the way Tony Soprano was involved in?
I don't know. It has all the elements of like we as humans are story loving creatures,
Mm-hmm.
and it has all the elements of the best kinds of stories.
Right.
The hero's journey, but also the high stakes drama, the life or death drama. It's kind of it's all the basic ingredients of a story amplified, I think, to the greatest degrees of success and failure and what those things mean.
I also think there's an element of loyalty and playing by their rules. Like they do have rules, right? In all these movies, the mafia, whether it's Godfather or Sopranos, there's a certain honor in it that they believe there is a certain honor in it that they don't want to betray. And I think that's another reason why we're drawn to those things.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, here's a tough one. Who's the GOAT, LeBron or Michael Jordan?
Geez. How do people in LA feel about that? I need to know how to answer that carefully.
You know, LeBron is a very polarizing figure.
Right.
And I think as a basketball player, he's incredible and obviously one of the two greatest players of all time. But I don't think people love all the other stuff, the social media and the trolling and the sort of manipulation that he gets involved with different people and different. Well, I mean, how do you view LeBron?
I guess okay. So when you're talking who's the greatest of all time, let's just talk on the court. Forget all that stuff. I give LeBron the edge because of longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And the other stuff it's a slippery slope to get into, even, but everything becomes political these days, and I'm always very
it does.
not to tiptoe in that direction. So I'll go LeBron because of the longevity and ignore the stuff that may come with it for either guy. Because
What's your
it's like Jordan's without his baggage, you know?
Yeah. What's your social media game? Do you spend a lot of time on social media? You don't? Do you believe it's the ruination of the country and the world?
More of that. Yeah. One of the best things that I've ever done is about a month before I called my first World Series for Fox, I deleted my Twitter.
Did you?
So I've now been off of there for 5 years, and it's the greatest thing. I have an Instagram account, but I don't have the app. So if I want to post anything, I've got to download the app, or like log on through the browser. So I don't really have much of a social media presence.
I think that's smart, actually. I wish I could do less, but
It's also more part of your arm of the business, right? Like for you to be in touch with the conversation there. And
Yep.
whereas for me, it's all just either, hey, we love you or you suck. And both those things, like neither one of those opinions that I would get on there should matter. I know when I'm good. I know when I stink. I don't need social media to tell me that.
How old is Blake? 7?
7.
At what age will Blake have a cell phone if he doesn't have one already?
I just led the charge actually in my daughter's 3rd grade class to start a pledge to not have smartphones or social media until high school. So that just launched last week where everybody's signing up for that. And she's in 3rd grade. So they haven't really started asking yet, most of the kids.
Yep.
Before they start asking, the second part of this initiative that I led is there's this thing called a tin can. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's an old landline style phone that plugs into the wall. You don't even need a modem or a phone line, plugs into the wall, and the kids can dial each other for free on these other tin cans. So
Interesting.
the whole class is pledging not to have smartphones or social media through middle school. And then the other thing that I suggested was, hey, everybody pick up a tin can and we can be, instead of the mean parents who say no to the cell phones, we're getting out ahead of it. We're the cool parents saying, here's a sweet phone.
Wow. So you're leading this charge. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, there are a lot of, I think Australia now has banned social media until after a kid is 16.
Yeah.
Which seems about right. I'll tell you, kids can be so mean. And it's, for me, it just seems like another way that a kid can bully other people on social media.
I think it's at a time, Steve, where even for us at our theoretically completely evolved brain stage, it's impossible for us to say no and to not be bothered by the stuff we see on there. How can we expect these brains in their critical stages of development through these teen years? It's already hard enough growing up and going through what you go through as a teenager. How can we expect them to be able to safely handle the onslaught that comes through that stuff? Their brains aren't ready for it. So my idea was just, my idea is not unique. Like you said, there's an entire country doing it in Australia, and I think more and more people doing it here. But my thought is, like, let's kick that can down the road a little bit and give those precious brains a little longer time to develop and harden themselves to the crap that comes through those channels.
That's very, very smart. I co-sign that. Absolutely. So let's do a Wikipedia check.
Uh-oh.
Sam A. Davis is the cinematographer and co-producer of the film Period, End of Sentence, winner of the Academy Award for Best Documentary Short at the 91st Academy Awards. Is that your brother?
That is, and you're going to have to add to that Wikipedia page because he is a finalist for action short film The Singers. I don't know if you've heard of. That's Sam's film, and I'm biased, but I think he's going to win.
It's at the Academy Awards?
Hmm?
Wow.
So he was like you read there, the DP, and very much involved on Period, End of Sentence. But this one, he wrote, he directed, he produced. He's the guy. It's The Singers by Sam Davis. He actually moved. We're both from a small town in Michigan. He moved out before I did to go to Santa Monica junior college, and then went to USC Film School from there. But he moved out here before I ever knew I would have any reason ever to move to LA.
Right.
The Dodgers was a thing at all for me. And now we, two kids from a town of about 2,000 in mid-Michigan. We live 20 minutes apart here in LA, chase up two teams.
One's getting World Series rings. The other one might be getting an Oscar.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. How long does it take you to prep for a single game?
Bob Costas once said it takes you a week to prep for a football game, which is true. And for a baseball game, you're prepping your whole life. And it's really true. And yeah, so like today, I spent all day today on Dodger prep for the season. I finished off I have a process I go through player by player and finished off my last 4 players, just getting ready for the season. I spent 2 hours reading this book that I have sitting right here.
Oh.
Detailed on, I've read it before, I'm reading it again, and I
Nice.
notes in there and, take notes down. And
Wow.
so it's kind of ongoing. But like, I think Bob's point was, you never know what you read in whatever book or a Happy Gilmore quote that you
Right.
first time when you were 12 years old. You never know when that stuff's going to come up, but a baseball game and a baseball broadcast is a blank slate for anything and everything that you've taken in your life to come out. So really, truly, yeah, you have your prep process to get ready for a Dodger game or a national game, and that involves a lot of reading for that week's and that day's clips. But there's stuff throughout your life that'll come up in a baseball broadcast.
Do you ever use AI?
I've started to become pretty good at Chat GPT. I'm trying to learn how to, I say pretty good, I know how to type stuff in and get some answers. I would like to be more proficient at it, because I think that it could aid in prep. That said, the way I'm wired, I don't know if I could ever totally trust it.
No, I'm sure I don't trust it.
You don't?
No, I mean, I will go to chat and I'll ask something, and then to double check it, I'll go to Google.
Right.
And Google it just to make sure.
Google. Yeah.
So it's actually adding a step for me.
Right. Should have just got out the fat and gone to
Got to
Google.
do both. Yeah. All right. So can you tell us one thing about Shohei that nobody knows?
I'm going to have to think about that, because he's almost as mysterious to me as he is to you or anybody else.
Yeah.
The bed stuff?
The bed stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Like travels his own bed.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Does he travel his own bed?
He's maniacal about sleeping. I don't know how up to date that information is. Again, he's so private and mysterious, even to those of us that are with him every day. But at one point, he was traveling his own mattress.
Wow.
It was a Japanese company that made this special model for him to be able to travel and get as much treasured sleep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think people probably have some idea of how goal-oriented he is. I don't know if there's a full knowledge of the details of that, how he sat down when he was in high school and really scripted out his whole life. And it's remarkable. You can get online and you can find that script that he wrote. He's checked off a lot of those boxes in an uncanny fashion, a lot of them, doing them almost, from everything from stuff on the field to getting married and having a kid. That stuff ends up within a year or two in a lot of cases. So to me, he's not just, and to use your word, iconic athlete, one of a kind athlete. He is as good of an example as we have in our world today of the power of setting a goal and manifesting it.
And by the way, one of his goals was to be polite. It's in the script. Be polite.
Yeah.
And you know what? That comes across the way he greets an umpire, the way he greets a catcher when he first gets to the plate. He's very, very polite and respectful. It's one of the things I love about the guy.
Yeah. He, nobody would care to know this, but a fun story that only a few people would have seen. When Blake met him for the first time, we were in Tokyo. My family came with me, and Blake was down in the clubhouse, and I said, Shohei, just wanted to introduce you to my son Blake, and they shook hands, and Blake stood there kind of starstruck, and Shohei's smiling at him, and he reached into a box in front of him, and he pulled out a package, and he said, rice ball? And Blake just plucked it out of his hand and kind of stared at him.
That's very funny.
Blake will always have that story.
Are we destined for a lockout? I personally think it's going to happen, but don't you think it's going to happen, though?
I hope not. I mean, it has, looking at it right now. But my thing is, I don't know how they're not in a room right now trying to figure it out. Get a mediator, get both sides in there, and let's figure this out now. It's in everybody's best interest to do that. The game has not been in a place this good in my lifetime.
I agree.
I think you look back to the home run chases in the late 90s, but we now know what was behind that, and that soils that a little bit.
Yep.
It's been a long time since the game has been this exciting, has had this much of a global appeal. I don't think it's ever had this kind of global appeal.
No.
Lose a whole season, that would be the worst case scenario, but to lose a whole season would kill all of that. You lose some of the season, not good. There's just, let's get in a room and figure it out. And I know that both sides have very strong feelings about their positions. And because of that, I think both sides owe it to themselves and owe it to all of us that love the sport so much. Got to figure it out. And there's no excuse to not be in there right now.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. I've been in the same fantasy baseball league for 40 years.
Wow.
Talk about being old, huh? 40 years in the same fantasy baseball league.
That is amazing.
And by the way, I have not won it in 15 years. 15 years I haven't won
You
it.
do, Steve.
Exactly. But 1994 on the trophy, you know what it says? What? The winner of our league? Greed. Greed won that year.
Yeah.
94.
Yeah.
Terrible for baseball. Just terrible.
Yeah,
I hope they do work it out, man.
Me too. I got to pay for this guy's tuition,
There you go.
What?
So, what are we, three-peat? We feeling good about it?
Why not? I mean, I think if they should, right? But we know with baseball, a lot of times the team that should win doesn't.
Yep.
No team that won back-to-back titles since the Yankees. No team's three-peated since the Yankees. They were able to pull that off as well. But yeah, there's no reason they shouldn't be the team to beat going in. And then, it just comes down to health at the right time, playing well at the right time. And really, I think the deeper you get into a baseball playoff, the better chance you have as the best team. There's that minefield of a wild card series that they were able to thankfully quickly dispatch against Cincinnati this year. But that's scary. Baseball is a sport where the worst team beats the best team 2 out of 3 once a week across baseball. So the fact that a dynasty could come crumbling in a situation like that, you just got to get into the deeper part of the playoffs where the longer the series, the better the chance that the best team wins.
I go back and I look at that World Series and I think, I don't know if you agree with this. I thought Toronto kind of outplayed us and we won. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah. I think you can make that argument. Winning the 18-inning game goes the other way.
Yep.
It doesn't get to a game 7. They had a chance. I mean, you're going back game 6, up 3-2. You got to win 1, and to let them off of the hook like that. Yeah, but I think that there's something to be said for finding a way, even when you're not hitting, even when you're not, guys like Blake Snell had been so amazing to the postseason. He wasn't very good in the World Series, but they still found a way. And I don't think you become a dynasty. You don't three-peat. You don't have a conversation about a three-peat if you don't find a way to get it done, even in times where you get outplayed. Because in baseball, in a long season and in a long postseason like that, you're not always going to outplay the other team. You're not always going to be on each day the best team on the field. So they found a way, and I think that's a critical ingredient if you're going to string together titles the way they've started to.
There were reports that during that 18-inning game, you never went to the can. Is that true?
True. That's true. I said that in an interview like a week after the World Series and thought I was just kind of I just dropped that fact in. I heard more about that comment than I did anything else that happened during the World Series. I believe, Steve, that is my greatest accomplishment.
Is it?
Yeah.
Mind over bladder?
Oh, nice. I might steal it.
Yeah, use that one. I worked hard on it. Okay, last thing for you. Do you ever go back and think about a game and you want a call back?
Game 7, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yep.
It was a brilliant call. I mean, you don't need this affirmation from me. It's an amazing call.
You're sweet, and people have encouraged me in that way, and my response to you and to them is respectfully The game was great. The game was amazing. I was not good. I didn't make any mistakes. I didn't, whatever. But I think that I felt really proud of the work that I did throughout October. I felt as good as I've ever felt in Game 6. But then Game 7, it was my first Game 7. And I think that I made it into something bigger, which it is, but probably shouldn't have done that in my head. And I was just a tick off, just a beat off.
Yep.
The Rojas home run needed a cap to it beyond no way. I needed Rojas's tied Game 7. Final call I didn't like. I thought that it fit, but wound up being a little bit forced. It needed to be more about how epic Game 7 was. I don't know. I felt like I was chasing my tail for a lot of the night and was just a touch behind, a touch off, and not that anybody would have noticed. And but again, back to the social media discussion, it doesn't matter if people noticed. I know it wasn't my best, and that I'll always have to carry that, where it's like, hey, this is one of the greatest games of baseball in baseball history. For me, the game I had always dreamt of having a chance to call, and I wasn't bad, but I wasn't my best, and that stinks. So I've got in my desk here, I've got a full page or a full little packet of notes, like a Game 7 autopsy and reflection. And I hope I get another chance to do one and have a reason to pull those out and be better.
Dude, you have an autopsy of Game 7 of your performance.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You're being really hard on yourself, man.
Yeah.
Are you always your own worst critic? That's tough. That is tough.
But it's also like, it's as with so many things, I think that it's probably one of my best qualities that has helped me accomplish some of the amazing things I've been able to do and have been so blessed to luck into in a lot of ways. I think that it's led me to some of those things, but it's also it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Like perfectionism, type A personality is definitely a double-edged thing.
Well, let me tell you, as far as I'm concerned, that was an unbelievable Game 7 call. I thought it was incredible. I am such a huge fan of your work, both in the NFL and with the Dodgers and in the World Series. And it is really cool to get you on. I appreciate you doing it, and we will see you during the season, man.
Awesome, man. And again, thank you for having me be the first guy. I hope I didn't let you down with the pop culture stuff.
Absolutely not, man. You were great. Happy Gilmore anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, man. There you have it. Joe Davis, voice of the Dodgers, voice of the World Series. Man, he is self-critical. I mean, here's the truth. I think a lot of people in broadcasting are their own worst enemies. I cannot tell you the number of times, and he felt like that about Game 7 of the World Series. Can't tell you the number of times I walk out of the station thinking, damn, I got to be better. Now, I need a better show. I need to do a better show. I'm always judging myself and always very, very critical of what I do. So I understand that from Joe, but I hope he does get a chance to celebrate just how special, just how amazing that Game 7 call was. Hey, thank you very much for watching. We're going to be on YouTube here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel every single week. Also available Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the like button on the YouTube channel. Leave a comment, a review, a reaction to anything that we've talked about here. And definitely leave us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple and Spotify. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for listening to the very first Mason Plus podcast. See you next time.